I had a tough upbringing and found myself into success, making a good six-figure job, had the white picket fence, the beautiful house. I was living the dream, and all of a sudden, like that, it all started to come to an end and crumbling down around me. I'm not a high school graduate. I only have a GED. I don't have any college degree. I realized the power of real estate and how you can help people. So I could take care of myself, because my greatest investment is myself.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Meetup interview episode where we are dedicated to helping you take your real estate business to the next level. My guest today is Jeremy Beland, investor and owner of New Hampshire Home Buyers. With a track record of over 400 off-market deals since 2017, he's a seasoned real estate investor who knows the ins and outs of the industry. This isn't just about the numbers, it's about the journey, it's about his mindset. Him and his wife Shelly started with just $11,000 and a dream. Through 3 years of hard work, they grew their business while managing full-time jobs and raised a blended family of 5 children. Jeremy will be sharing insights and strategies on how to excel in sales. Get ready to discover the latest tips and tricks to effectively engage with sellers, negotiate better deals, and overcome common obstacles. So without further ado, let's jump into the interview with Jeremy Beland. So Jeremy, obviously for people watching, they don't know who you are, what your business looks like. So let's a quick intro. Who are you? What does your business look like right now?
Sure. Well, my name's Jeremy Beland. I am a real estate investor from New Hampshire. That's originally where we started. We started out as wholesalers. I run the business with my beautiful wife, Shelly, who's off camera here. Her and I started the business back in 2017. I've had a lot of professional sales careers, and my life kind of brought me to real estate at a couple different times, but most importantly towards the end of 2016, where I decided to dive all into getting into a coaching program in real estate. Meaning I was a divorced dad at the time, divorced for a couple of years with 2 kids. I decided to sell my townhouse and move myself and my 2 kids into a small little apartment because I had no money and I wanted to get into real estate. And although I was working a pretty good 6-figure job at that time, I really wanted to do something bigger and better, but I needed to find a way. So I burnt the boats, and I sold my house. I invested $5,000 into a coaching program, $6,000 into starting my business. Since then, we've gone on in multiple markets to do over 400 successful acquisitions, off-market acquisitions between Florida, New York, Kansas, Las Vegas, New Hampshire, Massachusetts. And here we are, at 2024 coming up, and we're about to start our 7th year.
And I definitely want to understand your business model a little bit more, right? Because obviously I've seen some buy and holds. I know you guys do that.
I love
you do some
everything,
wholesaling, right? But just to go back to that 2017, because obviously I interact with a lot of people. You'll meet people at the meetup. People want to jump into the real estate business.
Sure. I encourage it.
Right, and I do the same. But people find it difficult, and I find excuses. So
yes,
you had 2 children, you got $5,000 to invest, you were renting. How does someone go into real estate investing at that moment? And I don't know if it was struggling or not, but it doesn't seem to me like you were, you had the reserves and all that and ready, right? Like you weren't ready to jump full-time probably into the real estate investing.
Man, literally I had no money. So I started my business when I was 40 years old. I sit here today at this interview at 47, and my life has completely changed from 7 years ago. My first stint in real estate was really in the late 2007, 2008. I was working a good sales job at that time, and I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and decided to look into like Peter Conti and some other people that were around during that time. And I decided to start some real estate investing, which was wholesaling, but there wasn't a term for it back then. I actually even took a Donald Trump University weekend seminar. So I was trying to do all this stuff, and then the whole world changed, man. For us who are old enough to remember the recession in 2009, 2010, it was bad. And I was one of those people who was affected very, very hard by that recession. And, as a child, my family lost everything through foreclosure. We had our cars repoed. We went through bankruptcy and everything else. And I had a tough upbringing, found myself into success, making a good 6-figure job, had the white picket fence, the beautiful house. I was living the dream. And all of a sudden, like that, it all started to come to an end and crumbling down around me. I'm not a high school graduate. I only have a GED. I don't have any college degree. So, when during that time, a lot of people who were highly educated and much more successful on a corporate level were competing for jobs at a lower level where we were all fighting. Because during that time, not only were the housing market a wreck, but we were in a recession and there was no jobs anywhere. And I went from making, six figures to basically being out of work within 2 years. And although we did a big remodel on our house and added an addition and doing all this other stuff, I found myself upside down in my property in a year, about $150,000. And at that time, no loan modifications, there was no refinance options. All the mortgage companies were just selling off as fast as we can. But it was because I started to learn about real estate investing and get into it, which really, because of that market, I didn't know how to really manifest it into doing anything. I was able to save myself from foreclosure and bankruptcy. And one of the cash buyers who's still on our cash buyers list today ended up short selling our house for us. And it was like a saving grace. It gave me a reset button during a really hard time. I was in a depression, couldn't find a job. It was really, really tough. And what that did was, rather than going through the bankruptcy and the foreclosure, I just had a few years of a credit hit, but it allowed me to get out of that situation. And he was really nice to be able to give us money for a shed, a washer and dryer, and all these different things. But it was cash we desperately needed at the time for Christmas, clothes, food, our next location. And my ex-wife and the two kids, we took that money. And because I couldn't find a job, actually, before our house was even sold, I left and went into the military and joined the Air Force and went into basic training just before the age deadline at 34 years old. I was 33 years old and with a bunch of 17-year-old kids because it was the only job I could find at the time. And I was making $36,000 a year in the Air Force. Previous year, 2 years before that, I was making $136,000, right? So my whole world was changed. But that a couple things came out of that. One, I realized the power of real estate and how you can help people. Second thing is, everything was out of my control and I hated that feeling. So this was the second time in my life, between my family when I was younger and myself, that situations out of my control put me in a situation where I couldn't provide for myself or my family. And then as I got out of the military and I got myself back into a sales job, I started building myself back up to where I needed to be and being a six-figure earner and all that stuff again. As I started approaching 40, I started to realize that a lot of people I knew that were older were starting to be replaceable at an older age in life. So you could be giving yourself 20, 30 years of, whatever profession that is, and then overnight you're letting go. Companies are selling, they're laying off, and all these people are just like, I'm saving for retirement with my 401k, and nothing's coming of it. So it started to make me really nervous. I said, I need to find a better way. My 401k at the time was not going to be the end all, be all end all. And I thought, what if my company sells again? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I can't be in this situation. So I said, I'm going to start my real estate investing. So after a couple years of trying to figure out what I wanted to do, which was always to be a buy and hold landlord, real estate investor, I was like, do I want to flip and everything else? And it wasn't until I came across a podcast that started talking about wholesaling. And it was my coach today and my coach then, for two different reasons, Mr. Tom Kroll out of Florida, a guy who's just tremendous all the way around and has positively impacted my life in ways I can't even begin to describe. But I came across his podcast. It was so full of energy and it was so exciting. And man, I was traveling all over the country with my sales job and I was listening, but I was afraid to pull the trigger because, like everybody else listening to us today, they don't have any money. So what do you do, right? I'm divorced now. I travel. I have just enough money to pay my bills at the end of the month. I got two kids. But I had to do something. And that's when I decided to sell my house. I made about $17,000 in profit. I owned the house for 2 years. And I paid off like $5,000, $6,000 in credit card debt. I paid $5,000 for the coaching. And I paid $6,000 to start my business like I spoke about earlier, which basically gave me my initial marketing budget, gave me my contracts, my attorney fees, setting up my LLC. And then his coaching taught me how to wholesale my first house in 90 days, which I did. And we started January 2017. I got my first assignment check starting out as a wholesaler, and in March of 2017 for a whopping $5,000. So I was getting there. And then, the coaching program wasn't really, taught to teach you how to rinse and repeat, just kind of taught you how to do it. So, at that point, my girlfriend at the time, Shelly, was, we're both working full-time jobs. We just scratched and clawed. And at that time, we were starting to blend our two families together. She was going through an end of her divorce, or she was just coming out of a divorce. I was out of my divorce. We had 5 kids we were blending. I was working full-time traveling the country. She was working a full-time job. We had no money except for the $5,000 that came in that fed the next marketing. Then we got a $3,000 check, and we fumbled our way through 10 deals in our first year for $77,000. And then at the end of that first year, I convinced her to quit her job because I needed some help. And it was a struggle bus for year 2. You know, I guess to answer your question in a very long-winded way, you know, if there's a will, there's a way. And a lot of people can make excuses, and I had all the excuses. But we said, no way, we're in it, we're gonna see it through. And since then, we've gone on to do over 400 houses. My $11,000 investment, because of all the hard work and the grit and not making excuses and just overcoming all those difficult times, which still happen today, we've gone on to do over $8 million in gross profit since.
It looks like you probably don't even need me here. You can get going here. And this is awesome, man. I appreciate you sharing all that. Obviously, it's the mindset there, obviously. It's easy to say I started in 2017. This was my first deal. This is how much I made. But
yeah,
to do it in the position where you started, right? And I have a total different story. I'm an immigrant, but honestly, I had it better than you when I started out. I still have my family support. I was, you know, married. I had my brother. We had some cash. So you started at a much, you know, worse position, and for you to actually make it a successful business now, 5, 6, 7 years later, it's kudos to you, right?
We all have our challenges, and you being an immigrant makes it very difficult. You know, I'm just an English-speaking white American here that a lot of people relate to, right? You had to overcome a lot of challenges there, but it didn't stop you, and we're in a freaking very fancy building. You've done really well for yourself.
Thank you.
So, you know, and what I found is people like, not just us, but people who've been successful in this industry, man, they've all had to overcome challenges. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Social media makes it look easy, but it's not. But nothing is easy.
What did that first deal look like?
It's all about taking massive from perfect action. And I literally that was the epitome of taking massive from perfect action. So, you know, although the coaching program taught us a lot, I didn't really rely on any of the coaching as much as I should have. I always felt like I didn't want to impose on everybody. I just kind of figured it out myself to my own detriment. Something I've gotten better at in recent years, but in my first few years, it prevented me from growth. So that first deal was an absentee owner. And a wonderful story, but just to show how it all came together. She was a lady from Maine, and she owned a property in Manchester, New Hampshire. And we put it under contract, and her story was actually really crazy. She needed to sell a house because she was going through cancer for like the 3rd time. She was actually raised or born just outside of Chernobyl in Russia. Wow. So because she was from that lineage, she had battled all kinds of cancer throughout the rest of her life. And this was another bout at it, which was just, you know, a crazy story. And she was looking for this really like state-of-the-art treatment that her insurance wouldn't cover, and she had to go to Chicago to do it. So she needed to sell this house that nobody was living in. And I didn't really know anything about anything. So I'm like, you know, I just, as you see it in my hat, it says lock it up. I just locked it up as low as possible. I didn't know what I was doing. Locked it up as low as possible. Went out to my cash buyers and hosted a, you know, inspection walkthrough for the cash buyers to come. So I'm sitting there with her a whole hour. Nobody comes out. Big part of it was I only had about 35, 40 cash buyers on my cash buyers list. I should have had a lot more, but I didn't know then. But needless to say, I was too high. So I renegotiated for a lower price. And then now I had another inspection come, and we had maybe 5, 6, 7 buyers come through, and they're like, it's too high, it's too high, it's too high. At this point, she's starting to feel bad for me. She's like, we'll do another reduction because I need to get this thing sold, and you're really nice. I love how hard you're working for me. We built a lot of rapport, and she knew I was trying to help her. She was reasonable, but she also knew I was trying to help her, and you know, she was motivated. So after a second reduction down to our 3rd contract price, I finally found a buyer to come. It was actually a DJ off of a local radio station here in Boston. It was his first deal as a HomeVestor franchisee owner, and I signed it for $5,000. We closed on it. I got the check in a frame at my house. It was a magnificent moment for her. She also offered to do me a review, and I was like, no, you don't need to do that.
No, no.
I'm like, God, why did I do that?
Yeah, we need that.
What was great about that deal was just the power of belief. it works.
And regardless how, of that dollar amount, right? To you, I'm sure if it was 5 or 50,000, it didn't matter because again, it was proof of concept. That's
Proof
what
of concept,
you
yeah.
cared about at that point. Let's talk about wholesaling, and then we're going to go maybe talk about some of the sales techniques,
Okay.
right? Things that you'll mention at the meetup later tonight.
Love to.
But really basic, because some people watching might be buy and hold investors. They might want to get into, they might be watching this and never heard about wholesaling, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you are Tom Kroll right now, getting them hooked to this. Why don't we explain that really quickly, what wholesaling is?
Yeah.
And how does that work with...
Wholesaling is the art of finding discounted properties. And so what it means for you guys listening to is when you go and get a property under contract with a purchase and sales agreement, you can have that purchase and sales agreement assignable. You can assign the rights to that purchase and sales agreement to another person who is a cash buyer for a fee. Wholesaling is really great for a lot of different reasons. It's a quick cash grab that you can use for a lot of different things, especially if you want to do buy and hold, different other techniques like we do short-term rentals now as well, and it's a great opportunity for that. For the reason why I got into wholesaling was one, it really looked at it as an opportunity to do something that had low financial barrier of entry, right? So knowing what I know now, I never use my own money to do anything in real estate, but back then I thought I needed money to do real estate. So wholesaling just made sense because I didn't need a lot of money to do it. But really the reason why I was interested in that was because although I wanted to be a buy and hold investor and I knew I wanted to do some flips, I knew the best way to get the best deals would be to get control of them. Again, I'm a little bit of a control freak here, so because of what I've gone through in my life. So the ability to go out and get deals at the lowest level, which was off-market properties, direct to the seller, I didn't have to worry about realtors. I didn't have to worry about the MLS. I didn't have to worry about anything. I was in control of getting those deals, and then how I wanted to exit out of them was completely up to me. Do I want to wholesale them? Do I want to flip it? Do I want to keep it short-term rental, long-term rental? I have all those strategies at my disposal, but getting really good at acquiring them off-market was really the most important part. In my business today, the model is focus on solely getting really, really good at acquiring off-market properties, and then we just have multiple exit strategies for everything.
I wanted to take a second to introduce to you guys our monthly networking events. The purpose of our networking events is to elevate the lives of those seeking time and financial freedom through real estate investing. Investors, developers, agents, and anyone interested in learning about real estate investing is welcome to join. We are here to collaborate, help, and learn from each other. Expect to make lifelong real estate connections and friendships. Our events are not just about learning, they're about building a community that supports your real estate journey. So, if you are interested in joining us, make sure to check the link in the description of this video. See you guys there. So you have a lead generation machine,
Yes,
right?
we're a marketing
That's pretty
machine.
much what
Yep.
you guys are. Marketing company, and then the byproduct of that is the real estate, and you can go
It's a commodity.
different directions. What are some pitfalls, right? Because people, maybe they heard about the definition. Yes, you sign the PNS, seems easy. Where do wholesales go wrong?
Two things they go wrong. One, they make it about numbers. And then if you start making it like you go into somebody's house and say, well, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, your house needs a roof, you need this, you need that, $150,000 is the best I can do. You're already making this thing a negotiation about money. And the seller's going to be backed in, and they're going to get defensive. And it's just like when you're going to a car dealership, you may be going there to look for a car, but as soon as you're in the car dealership and a salesman comes over and says, hey, can I help you? What's the first thing you always say?
I'm good, I'm just looking around.
Just looking, right? But you're there to buy a car, but you don't want to get into a negotiation tactic. So a lot of people, they get into that pitfall and start making about numbers. And that's one of the worst ways to acquire properties. You're going to have very, very little success doing that. But the hard part is a lot of these people are distressed and they need a lot of help and they need a lot of hand holding. And a lot of them are habitual procrastinators. A lot of them make a lot of decisions that make it really tough for them to be successful and succeed in anything in life. Working their emotions, helping them financially, helping them leave stuff behind, helping them get to another place, providing transportation, maybe movers, selling stuff for them. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that requires a lot of time and effort. And meanwhile, it's really hard to get a property under contract, right? It's a lot harder to get them to the closing table. Those are two very different things. And where you earn your money is getting them to the closing table. Our acquisition team works really, really hard getting these people there.
So that's one, and I know personally for us, another struggle we have had, especially in the beginning with wholesaling, was just finding good buyers.
Sure.
Because buyers sometimes will say, yes, I'll take this on, and they cannot close, right? And that's the worst thing that can happen to you, obviously, because you are the one that now have a relationship with the seller, right? And you're telling them, hey, we'll close on Friday, and Friday comes and goes, and there's no closing. How do you overcome that?
Kind of make you dependent on your go-to buyers, which can save you at times, but also be a detriment to you. We call it a CBE because they'll basically make you a cash buyer employee, where you're going to be giving them deals and it's going to be convenient for you. But just like the seller selling you at a house for a discount for speed and convenience, you're going to your cash buyer and doing the same thing for speed and convenience. But we've always spent just as much time building our cash buyers list as we do marketing to off-market properties. We felt like the one with the biggest cash buyers list wins. So in any market we are in here, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, I don't even know what the number is anymore. We're probably 4,000 or 5,000 on the list.
How do you get to 5,000 plus?
Power of the MLS now. So we market all of our properties on the MLS, almost all of our properties on the MLS.
Got it. So and the seller knows about it, or is part of the contract?
We always tell every seller we're 100% transparent in everything we do. Matter of fact, it's even on a purchase and sales agreement where they have to sign and acknowledge it.
You mentioned the private money a couple times, and I get it. I'm like you. When we started out, it was a struggle finding any cash. I mean, my father-in-law was my first lender. My dad, lended me money. So I get it. But for people starting out, that's probably one of their first roadblocks, right? Well, real estate average price in Massachusetts is $700,000-$800,000, right?
Yeah.
Like, who am I to buy this one? And all those objections and all the roadblocks we put in front of us. I don't have the cash. So, first of all, how did you overcome that? I know wholesaling, you don't need a ton, right? You just need enough for marketing. But you said you build a relationship with private lenders. So how did that work out?
Well, fortunately for me, I was reading a book about private lending from Chris Noggle, which was a great book. It was kind of a game-changing book, which led us out to Buffalo, New York to go do a weekend seminar. Another guy who's been incredibly impactful in our lives. And that book, that weekend, which was the weekend I proposed to my wife, Shelley, by the way, out in Niagara Falls, it was a great weekend for a lot of different reasons. We learned a lot about how to secure relationships with private lending. We became friends and business partners with somebody from that meeting. We went on to a bunch of different ventures. Obviously, I engaged, proposed to my beautiful wife at that time.
That was a good trip.
It was a great trip, life-changing in a lot of ways. But we knew at that time, like, we were struggling. And again, I didn't know what I didn't know. So I'm always trying to help people now how to get private lending. So I was just like, man, Shelley, if we could just figure out how to get some lending, we won't be like at the mercy of these buyers. I'm sick of them kind of holding us hostage. Like, I just buy this property, we'll just flip it, we'll just buy it and throw it on the MLS, we'll do whatever it is. I just knew it would be a game changer, and it was. Private lending, complete, like up and to the right, like 18, 19, 20, 21 with the the real estate market was basically how our business went through private lending. What I would say is, just like the old movie quote, if you build it, they will come. If you find a property and it's a good deal, there's people out there. You market it to the local REIAs, the local meetups, you can market it on Facebook, and it's like, hey, if you have a good deal, I'm looking for somebody to partner up with me on this. We'll split it 50-50. You bring the money to the table. I'll bring the deal. I'll do all the work. You do everything. You find somebody like that, that's how you get started. And if you do a really good job, the person can be like, when's the next one?
So, like, I'm thinking back, for me, the biggest struggle was just overcoming, it was a mindset limitation, mindset belief that I was having, that I just didn't feel like I understood this business enough, and I wasn't clear in asking for money, right? I thought they were doing me a favor, right? And guys, it's totally different. We are actually helping our private lenders. 12 to 18% return, like, where do you get that return right now? Right? And if you invest with someone like Jeremy has been doing it, it runs a professional business. I mean, nothing is 100% guaranteed, but you guys have, you're buying at a discount, like, you're doing the right things. For someone to get that return, that's great, right? They are lucky to
It's amazing. Matter of fact, one of our private lenders who's been with us, who was a childhood friend of Michelle's, unfortunately lost her parents at a very young age, tragically inherited some money. But they were just a young family, and they had this money, and she was learning about investing this. She came to us and lended to us. Since then, her and her husband, over these years, quit their jobs. And they make 6 figures a year just lending to us, and they basically live a life of just doing what they want with the family. We've completely changed their life just from being a private lender with us.
Let's talk about sales techniques, right? The meetup tonight is about sales techniques. And guys, if you haven't been to our meetup event, join me. Come talk to guests like Jeremy. It's awesome. It's really low-key, and it's about networking, right? So you network with other local investors, you get energized, but you also learn from people that are deep into real estate investing. So I have them all here, 5 techniques that you want to cover tonight, but perceived ownership, what is that?
Yeah, so perceived ownership is a technique that becomes like, so when a seller wants to sell you a property, they need to feel like their ownership of the transaction is theirs. They are deciding, hey, I want to sell my property to you, not you're trying to convince them to sell the property. So perceived ownership is really just about the mindset of making the seller feel like it's their idea to want to sell to you.
How do you do that?
A lot of it's just about providing value and explaining everything and being really transparent about the situation, right? So if it's a distressed seller, you want to talk to them about all the ways you can help them, and they're going to logically come up with the idea themselves that, hey, this person actually is a benefit to me, right? And we make it, again, less about the money and more about the value we can provide. So we start really diving deep into why they want to sell, what is the motivating factor here, and how we can come up with solutions for that. That and then makes them think that we are a fit for them.
Yeah. You mentioned Tom Kroll, but masterminds, books, podcasts, other people that made an influence on you.
So many, all of them. So, Tom Kroll's been a huge mentor in my life.
Tom Kroll, wholesaling?
Yeah, he created wholesaling. He doesn't do it anymore. He's actually my coach now for my coaching program. He coaches coaches on coaching programs. Todd Toback, his brother, who's out of California, Dan's older brother, has been doing this for 20 years. He's been a mentor. Cody Hoffine's been a mentor of mine. Brent Daniels, who created TTP, has also been a mentor of mine. Obviously, Dan Toback, who's our coach, has been a great mentor of mine. Chris Noggle has been a tremendous mentor of mine. But right now, my coach I have 2 coaches, and I invest a lot of money into coaching. I have since I've been in this business, and I will never stop, because the reason why I've had all my success is because I've learned all these things from coaches. But Steve Richards, who's out of Indiana, he's a tremendous mentor and coach for me right now, who's helped me probably almost as much as any other coach in my life.
You mentioned the morning routine. What does that look like?
Even though Shelly and I don't have to have an alarm, and we don't need to set an alarm, we don't need to go and do work stuff anymore, we're very blessed, we still get up early every day. 4:45 a.m., 5 a.m. every day we get up, we do our reading, and we do walking, we used to be avid runners. We retired from running. Shelly is an ultra runner, retired ultra runner. She's run a bunch of 100-mile races and 50-mile races and won them. We love to go to bed early, and we love to wake up early and just start the day with just enthusiasm and willingness to learn and make money.
The reason I ask, it's especially as self-employed, right? People watching want to jump into real estate investing. And we are talking now about routines, early mornings, and health, right?
So for me, it's just about if the day will always get away from you, right? So I need to make myself a priority first. So me and Shelly put our investing into ourselves first. So I have to, invest into myself mentally, educationally, spiritually, and physically, emotionally, all those things I need to do first thing so I can take care of myself, because my greatest investment is myself. My second greatest investment is my wife and my children. My third is my business and my team members. But it all starts with me.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear, because that is a great message, right? We're talking business, but it all starts with you personally. Where are you at? Where is your mind? Where is your body? Right? If someone asks you, where can I start in real estate investing?
It all depends what your end goal is. Some people don't want to be landlords. Some people want to own short-term rentals. Some people just want to flip houses because they love HGTV. Some people just want to have a transactional business like wholesaling, want to make quick cash and buy fancy cars and just love the hustle and the grind of it all. So you really have to figure out what is best for you. But what I would say is really do some soul searching on what you feel is what you really want to do, and focus on that niche and get really good at that. So if you want to be a buy and hold investor, find out how to get into buy and hold investing and get really good at that. Don't just start flipping and don't start wholesaling. You have to figure out what niche you want to do and learn and hire a mentor, find a mentor, get a coach that teaches you how to get there as quickly as possible.
That's awesome. Let's talk about the podcast, Facebook group.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So REI Freedom. Yeah, baby, lock it up. REI Freedom, man, we're all about off-market acquisition training. There was a need in this industry. There's a lot of people tell you how to wholesale, tell you how to flip, how to get rental properties, but nobody tells you how to get really good at talking to sellers off market. And we've really mastered the art of that over the years, and we continue to spend a lot of time and effort to get better at that process. Go in our Facebook group, please. We provide tons of free content in there. Dan's always going in there giving live coaching every single day. And whether you want to join our program or not, it's fine. We'd love to have you, but we really only take people who are serious about real estate investing. But in the meantime, if you want to learn, that's the place to go for free.
Anything else that's on your mind that I didn't mention? Anything you want to share?
I love my wife, Shelly.
Here we go. You mentioned Shelly a few times.
Hey man, I couldn't do this without her, and the reason why I'm here today is because of her, so I'm very thankful for that. But no, man, I encourage people to stop making excuses, stop wasting time, find a way to make it happen. Your life will change. 40 years old, I started my business. At 47, my life is completely changed. You're never too late, you're never too old. The only thing you should do is do it now or tomorrow, because anything later than that's too long. So get started at it.
Thank you for being at the office. Thank you for both of you guys showing up and being part of the meetup event later tonight. Yeah. For you guys watching, come join us at the meetup event. Again, come join and meet people like Jeremy. It's a great opportunity to just network with local real estate investors and help us grow the channel. Like, share, subscribe, comment below. Would love to hear from you guys and help us grow the channel to a lot more people. Catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Thanks, man.
Yeah, man.
This was
awesome.
Great.